Because Lisa, what I'm hearing you saying as well really turns traditional thinking on its head. I'm sure many of us have worked in organizations where they have gone through a reduction in force for whatever reason. And you mentioned this, but you're sort of a little bit in survival mode. But actually, what you're suggesting is something totally different, which is if you can offer a supportive, I was going to use the word structure. I don't know if that's the right word, but a place for people to think about their development and to think about what's next, whether it's there or somewhere else, then that really fits with the whole crux of mentoring as well, which is thinking about your development.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly right. Exactly right. And it is a time of culture shift. After a riff is a time of culture shift, isn't it?
Mm.
Because um, you're setting new norms and you're recognizing that people, I mean, I don't know anybody who's at and any of I have many friends who are in organizations that have laid off a lot of people. Some have been part of the layoff and some have been part of the folks who remain. And of those who are part of the folks who remain, they're all trying to figure out what's next for them. That could have been me. And so I want to make sure that my position is safe. So how about taking time to figure out what it is you need in order to feel secure at where you are? And isn't it in my interest as an employer to make sure that you have the space and the resources for that? It is flipping conventional wisdom on its head, right? That you're just there to survive. You better put your nose down and just do the work. But people are more complex than that.
And also, I think earlier you were mentioning how mentoring relationships aren't just for the advantage of the mentee, but also the mentor. So, actually, one of the things that went across my mind when you started talking about this was, gosh, this would be really hard if you're a mentor in that situation. Like, it probably feels great being a mentor when you feel like you can help someone and, contribute to their ongoing success and future. But if there's a situation where there is a riff and you yourself might not know what's next, actually becoming a mentor or continuing to be a mentor in that situation might also help you as well.
Yes, 100% in the case of one-on-one mentoring relationships. And that's why I think that peer mentoring is so important now, because you can have peer mentoring at various levels in the organization, right?
Tell us more about peer mentoring. So that's someone maybe at the same experience level, is it? That you're mentoring one another?
Yep. So peer mentoring can happen one-on-one or it can happen in groups. And I actually think that the time, the, I mean, it's always context specific, but in general, after a riff, having peer mentoring groups, cohorts that are at a lateral level who can meet regularly, set some group norms, talk about how they want to learn together, have a place to share what their concerns are, what the resources, that image and exposure
Okay.
piece that we talked about, and share that with one another and learn together with intention and structure is really, really powerful. So that you don't have a mentor who feels like they have to comfort the mentee when the mentor, him or herself, is feeling ill at ease. If you have a peer group, you're all showing up for one another and you have that sense of commonality where it's like, okay, what are we going to be doing now and how are we all going to rise together?
You're blowing my mind with this, honestly. I didn't think our conversation would turn into this at all, but it's so timely with what is happening in the world. And as you say, especially in the United States, where we're seeing a lot of, things happening right now. And, I
Mhm.
always thought about mentoring a certain way. And what you're sharing here is just so different. So, how can we communicate better about the value of mentoring so that more people want to become involved, either as a mentor or a mentee, or as you say, even with peer mentoring, group mentoring? There seems to be so many different arms of the octopus, if you like, of different ways that one can learn and develop and support one another.
Yeah, it's such a great question. I wish I had the silver bullet, Megan. For that, I'll tell you what my gut is, this the way that this all takes root is by each of us talking about what we want to learn and what we are learning from others and promoting one another, right? And so if I am talking in an organizational context, if I'm a leader, I want to be talking about how I'm investing in my own learning and celebrating the people on my team who are investing in other people's learning, right? And if that becomes part of my vernacular, part of my regular communication, part of what's celebrated and communicated, um, it starts to have a ripple effect. If you are a somebody who is responsible for mentoring in your organization, the power of a testimonial, a video testimonial of somebody who is respected and has invested in their learning and in other people's learning cannot be underestimated. It's there's that movie with Harry Met Sally, that I'll have what she's having, right? It's that I'll have what she's having effect of like, I see somebody really benefiting from from mentoring, and talking about the benefit of that, and I want some of that, right? And so I've seen the best leaders not only talk about their own learning, but they require of the people who report to them to share how they're investing in their learning and how they're investing in the learning of somebody else. It doesn't have to be through mentoring. Mentoring is just one vehicle. But if you start to encourage that, promote that, embed that in the DNA of your leadership, and of your leadership style and of your organization, then it really starts to take root. And on a more organic level, each of us as individuals, even outside of our organizational context, can set our own learning goals. We can talk about them with the people over whom we have influence, and encourage others to do the same. And remembering that it doesn't have to be a formal mentoring relationship, that informal mentoring can help this stuff take root as well.